Okay, the scenario I'm doing is a 55-year-old construction worker presents with low back pain. You believe it is because he has poor hip hinge, meaning he bends at the back rather than the hips, and possibly a bulging disc. Your group consists of the on-site manager, company, athletic trainer slash physical therapist, and an exercise physiologist hired by the company to decrease work-related injuries. The two perspectives I'm choosing to do are physical therapist and on-site manager. So my main goal through rehab is to decrease back pain for my patient as much as possible through exercises and stretching, and also give him some exercises and ways to avoid this pain in the future. So first I want to explain why he's experiencing the pain he's experiencing in his back so that instead of just giving him things to fix it, he knows how to prevent it in the future. So I'd like to do that before beginning any kind of rehab. So hip hinge is very important to avoid straining the back, especially when lifting heavy loads. And as a construction worker, lifting heavy loads is something you have to do often. So I would like to strengthen the quads and hamstrings a lot. So it's more in his legs and hips rather than in his back. So you can do these with body weight split squats, knee extension exercises with or without a machine. With the machine would be better, so you can add weight, and then step ups on an elevated surface, possibly adding weight as my patient progresses. To strengthen the hip flexors, I could include hip bridges, which is where you lay on your back and you lift and lower your hips. Lateral resistant band walking, meaning you wrap a resistance band around both of your knees and walk laterally. And then hip adduction and abduction, possibly with the machine if available. To help him progress along with the wall hinge, I'll have first the patient stand against a wall and hinge at the hips until his butt touches the wall, and then I'll have him turn around and face the wall and do the same thing, but avoid touching the wall, because this is how he will avoid bending at the back, because if he bends at the back, his head or anything on the upper body is going to be touching the wall. But if he bends his hips and his knees and pictures a line pulling his hips backwards, his hips will go back instead of his back arching. And then finally, resistance band hip hinges. So have him hold a resistance band underneath his feet and perform a hip hinge while maintaining that resistance. If he lets go of resistance, that will be a good cue that he is arching his back or bending at his back. For the perspective of the on-site manager, I would like to begin with group stretching and some body weight exercises before construction begins, and I'll kind of get into the specifics of that later in the video. And it has to be body weight because it would be kind of hard to find equipment to warm up construction workers. So I would also like to highlight the importance of listening to the instructions of the PT and doing rehab on their own that they're supposed to do to rehab and treat existing injuries and also prevent future injuries. So I would like to make all workers watch an instructional video before they begin working for me, and also maybe periodically throughout whatever project they're working on. That includes lifting techniques that are specific to the types of movements they'll have to be doing, and this will help them know ways to maneuver their body so that they're not experiencing so much stress in areas you're not supposed to experience stress. So I would also use the experts on site as much as possible, like the physical therapist and the exercise physiologist, to treat pain as soon as it occurs and also avoid pain in the future, because when pain starts to set early on, if it's not treated, it's going to get worse, and that can affect their performance and their health long term. I will also establish frequent breaks and encourage workers to notify me or whoever's in charge of pain whenever it sets on, so we can kind of get that treated as soon as possible. So for the warm-up, I would like to start with some static stretching. So that's just stretching that you can do standing in place, staying away from dynamic stretching, because construction work is not something that typically is a fast-paced movement. So for the static stretching, to warm up the shoulders to avoid shoulder pain, I would like to do some partner stretching, specifically partner forced extension. So having the workers pair up. One worker will be the one stretching their shoulder, and the other one will be pulling their arm behind them until they can feel tension in their shoulder but not pain to avoid hurting it. And then standing quad stretching, where they will be on one leg and pulling their knee to their chest and also grabbing their ankle and pulling it behind them to stretch out their quads. And that could also help with the hamstrings a little bit. And then standing toe touches, so having them stand straight up and bend at the hips to touch their toes to stretch their hamstrings all the way down to their calves. And then I would like to do some body weight exercises to kind of wake up their muscles and focus on form. So split squats, this will help with rehabbing my patient as mentioned earlier, and just normal body weight squats, but heavily focusing on hip hinging and bending at the knees, because back pain in construction workers is an injury that most people deal with. So throughout all of these stretches and bodyweight exercises, I really want to focus on form, and more specifically in the bodyweight exercises to get them warmed up, because if I can demonstrate to them, or whoever's leading the stretches, demonstrate to them how these movements should be performed, they'll create that muscle memory and they'll be able to do it while they're working and avoid straining their body. For rehab exercises, or just things they can do to strengthen their body and specific muscles, first I have wall slides. So have the worker sitting in a wall sit against the wall and sliding laterally back and forth. This strengthens the quads, which is a knee extensor, and this would be helpful for construction workers because you're using knee extension a lot whenever you're in a squatted position. You have to lift up, so if those quads are strong, it will take off a lot of stress from the back. I'd also like to strengthen the shoulders, so a three-way shoulder complex where they lift front raise, lateral raise, and then a rear deltoid raise. So that front raise will strengthen the pec major, as that is flexion, and the lateral raise will do the serratus anterior, traps, and pec minor. And then the rear deltoid raise will do, as it sounds, strengthen the deltoids. And then I would also like to do heel elevated bodyweight squats. This will target the quads and hamstrings as you go down into flexion and then back up into extension. This I like to use body weight more than machines because not everyone has access to a gym or equipment. And then med ball hip bridges, where the patient is on their back with their feet on a med ball performing hip bridges, because this is going to have to help a lot with balance and really targeting those hip flexors.